Hello and welcome to the Beyond Physio podcast. I am Dr. Dave.
And I'm Dr. Alex.
Before we begin, I would like to make sure that you guys like and follow, subscribe, and of course give us a 5-star rating on those platforms. But today's episode, we're going to talk about 5 different red flags to look into when you're choosing a physical therapist.
Yeah. So you and I have been practitioners for, a good long time. I think you've practiced
a couple years
longer than I have. So something I want to ask you is you've been in a variety of different clinics, some more systematic than others. What would you say, or what are the different approaches in some of these different clinics and, how they were effective for the patients?
Yeah. So, I've been a part of a lot of really good clinics. I've been a part of really bad clinics. I would say one thing that probably rings true for most of the, I don't want to say bad clinics. I think they all try to do their best, but when it comes to a business format, there's really 2 types of PT clinics, right? There's an in-network place where the therapists are treating multiple patients an hour, like 4 patients an hour, 3 patients an hour. They don't really have the time or ability to attend to their patients on a one-on-one basis, or really to provide any sort of individualized care. So that's kind of what you see, burnt out physical therapists, ton of people there at the same time, and just over reliance on non-clinical staff.
And some of these clinics, as you're saying, maybe the system, they're good practitioners who work there, so yeah. They're excellent physical therapists, but the way the clinic runs, or the system or processes that they already have in place might not be conducive, like you said, seeing multiple patients an hour, where there's just not enough time to spend with those patients.
Yeah, it comes down to, what are the values of the clinic, right? Mm-hmm. It's just like any value of any sort of business, right? What is the values of that coffee shop? Are they really there to provide the best quality coffee? Are they there to provide a service to the community? Are they there to also obviously make money, but where are those things in the hierarchy of what they value, mm-hmm. right? So when it comes to PT, of course, physical therapy, it is a service, and we need to make money in order to be a service, to be a business or be a viable business. But in terms of quality and our desire to help people reach their goals, is really kind of what sets a good PT place from a bad PT place. What are they sacrificing in order to make a buck, right? And the way that some clinics might operate is such that they value making a buck over the quality of care that they're giving. And really, at the end of the day, it's not a sustainable model for anyone other than the corporate board of trustees or whatever it is that are kind of running the company.
Mm-hmm. But there's a constant influx of people who maybe your patients that you see for a very small period of time, and then you kick them out the door, things like that. But if you're really trying to grow a business where people refer to that clinic, and doctors refer, and word of mouth referrals, because they're oh, this place is so fantastic, then you really need to put patient care at the forefront.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the kind of red flags that you'll see with a PT clinic that might not be valuing their patient care very highly is modalities or things that take up a lot of time but don't necessarily help people. Mm-hmm. Right? Things like hot packs and cold packs. We don't even have a hydrocollator in this office. Mm-hmm. Not that there's anything wrong with a hot pack or cold pack, but when you're in a PT office, you have a limited amount of time that you're able to spend with the physical therapist. Putting a hot pack on someone for 15 minutes is not one, it's not evidence-based. Like there's no evidence that shows that that's going to improve your outcomes or it's going to actually help anything heal, but it's just a waste of time, right? There's 15 minutes of other stuff that you could be doing that is more effective or more helpful. And it's a sign that, the PT just needs some time to juggle the 15 other patients that they're treating at the same time.
Mm-hmm. So these modalities are more or less taking up space where something that would be clinically effective is being replaced by something that possibly isn't really doing all that much.
Yeah.
Just taking up time.
Yeah. Same thing with like ElectricStim. Listen, there's a time and place for ElectricStim. Someone's in a lot of pain and the only objective for that session is to try to get them out of pain. Stim will help. Study shows Stim helps decrease pain levels for a couple hours, and that's fine. But if every single patient that walks through that door is required to get e-Stim and some sort of hot pack and cold pack, like it's a bad look. You're not doing anything that's evidence-based. You're not doing anything that's actually like helpful in the long run. And again, you're wasting time.
So, and just to talk about that and to let our listeners know who might not know what ElectricStim is, oftentimes you'll see these electric simulator modules. They're either in a like desktop format or a pocket format, and they work on different ways. One is the endogenous opioids, or another way to say is your body's natural way to reduce pain. And then that gate theory where you're stimulating different nerve signals to distract the brain from the pain that's happening in that acute inflammation or injury or whatever. So it does have its time or place, but as you're saying, like if every single patient is coming in is like, oh, this is the place where we do ElectricStim, not everybody needs ElectricStim.
Yeah, not everyone. Actually, most people don't need ElectricStim.
Mm-hmm.
It also depends on the patient population, but for the most part, most people don't need ElectricStim. Another experience I've had where I literally was like an ultrasound monkey and had a cart around this cart with an ultrasound machine and did ultrasound on every single patient. I was a student at the time, and it's not that I didn't know better. I kind of knew that this was like probably not the best thing. Mm-hmm. But everyone got ultrasound on wherever they were having their quote unquote injury. Mm. Ultrasound is a very, one, passive modality, but two, is actually, again, proven to not be very effective in treating almost anything. I think there's like calcific tendonitis of the bicep is like the only thing that is actually helpful for
that. And maybe very low evidence showing like some help in plantar fasciitis.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So again, if everybody's getting this modality that just takes up time, isn't very effective, it's a red flag. Like it's not needed.
Right. And when ultrasound came out, the theory and the science behind it, or at least the theory and the way it helped, made sense. But after clinical trials and you see that placebo is just as effective as the actual treatment, our evidence-based style of treatment passes that to the wayside and makes room for things that have been clinically proven to work.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. Another thing is like everyone's doing the same exercise. Like everyone's on the arm bike, or everyone is doing the same like clamshell exercise, or everyone's doing an exercise that seems way too easy for them. My biggest pet peeve is that if we as clinicians believe in the theory and science of building muscle and strength, there's a concept of progressive overload. Like We actually need to challenge these muscle fibers to be able to do something, to get stronger. And we need to do it consistently. But if we're consistently doing exercises that are not hard enough to challenge anyone to do anything, then we're not progressively overloading and we're not actually getting anyone stronger. So a red flag is, for me, everyone's doing the same exercise and the exercise looks really easy. You don't want to go to that PT place.
Yeah. Muscle needs that adaptive response, that stimulus, almost a failure or a controlled failure for it to adapt. Otherwise, it's never going to happen. And that's not to say that certain injuries, let's say an ACL tear or a rotator cuff tear, there hasn't been some evidence to show that certain exercises actually are very beneficial. However, everyone comes in individualized, different rotator cuff, different leg lengths, hip positioning, etc. So not every single, you're not going to have a standard set of exercises for every single person.
Yeah.
Because it's just not going to work that way.
Yeah, not going to work that way. It has to be individualized. It has to be personalized. If your program looks exactly the same as somebody else's program that you're doing rehab at just so happen to be at the same time as, then most likely there's a lot of people at that clinic that are getting the exact same program. And you're not getting the individualized care that you need.
And not everyone comes in with the same goals.
Yeah,
some people want to get back to tennis, ski, sit around. Why would you give the same exact exercises that may not be gearing towards those same goals? Everything,
And then your specific, morphology or your specific body's, limitations are not going to be the same as the next guy. So yeah, individualized care is really important. Also, I think communication is really, really important. If the physical therapist talks to you for, 2 seconds and isn't interested in how you're doing, and doesn't communicate what the plan is, doesn't communicate how we're going to progress the plan and how, the patient is progressing as well in terms of like how they feel they're doing. If there's no communication or talk there, and you feel like you have no idea who this physical therapist is, or they have no idea who you are, and it's like your 10th session, like that's a problem.
Yeah.
Like you guys need to be able to communicate and feel like there's a line for communication, and there has to be some trust in that relationship.
So tell me if you've heard this, because I've heard this from other people. Actually, my father went through this himself, where they didn't actually know who their physical therapist was. Mm-hmm. They've been working with someone and they thought perhaps the aide or the physical therapy assistant was their physical therapist. Because they're like, oh, I work with this person every single time. They're fantastic. And I bet they are. But they're not their actual physical therapist. Yeah. So a red flag might be...
who's the PT there?
Yeah, exactly. If you, number one, that you don't know who your physical therapist is, but then also that the physical therapist isn't constantly reassessing your rehab and your progression. I've heard, we'll say not so great physical therapy clinics where they do an assessment and then you don't see that physical therapist for session upon session upon session. They're working by themselves or with an aide, and then they get reassessed down the line. That's not okay, because people progress in their own way. Healing is such a wide range of healing times and progressions. People come in to rehab either strong beforehand or maybe have some weaknesses. And so all of this is going to influence how quickly they heal. If you're not constantly reassessing and progressing along the way, you're just going by a timeline that's not unique to that individual.
Yeah, I mean, I literally have been at a clinic that I used to work at as an aide. actually thought I was their PT. And I was like, no, I'm an aide. Like, I'm not a doctor. Like, I'm just doing what I'm told to do. But she was like, oh no, but you're kind of like my PT. I'm like, no, I'm not your PT. Let's not say that. You're going to get me fired. But yeah, I mean, I think that it just goes back to the communication. Like, if you're not constantly communicating and your physical therapist is not constantly communicating with you, there's a problem there. And if you feel like you're just a number, or you just feel like you're just another face in the crowd, and you're not progressing and you're not getting the results you want, maybe you really need to figure out whether or not you're in the right place. And to be honest, like, we're not perfect. I mean, like, we're a PT clinic. We are not perfect. We've made mistakes. We've failed in certain ways, and we by no means think that we're the perfect clinic,
the
that we're
apex of clinical physical therapy.
Yeah, I mean, we have definitely made mistakes in the past, but it goes back to those values. Like, what is our value as a company? Like, our value is to provide the highest quality physical therapy we possibly can. Right? Sometimes that might look a little different at certain times of the day, certain times of the year. But to be honest, like, I don't know if that's the goal for many other PT clinics, right? Is it all about making a buck, or is it about patient care? And we actually do sacrifice a lot in terms of our financials, or being able to do certain things because we believe in it so much and we care about it so much. But yeah, I mean, I think that these are a couple things that you could kind of look out for yourself. As a consumer, I think the problem also is that people that are seeking out physical therapy, they might not have ever had PT, so they don't really know what it is. So would you be able to walk me through what does a next level PT session look like?
And I think just to go back on what you were saying, that we really do try to put the patient interest first. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to give you these red flags to look out for, just for people who haven't ever gone to physical therapy before, and might think that being rushed out the door is the norm, or what they should expect from every physical therapist. So at next level, what a patient should really expect, not only should they be well geared and fully knowledgeable on what their PT session will look like before they even enter the clinic, but as that patient comes into the clinic, they're going to have a consultation where they sit down with a physical therapist to really discuss their goals, their injury, and what they're trying to get back to, and what really is their driving force on coming back and rehabbing, and what they're here for. After that, you're getting a full initial evaluation, head to toe. Let's say someone comes in because they had a knee injury. Well, you and I know, but possibly that patient doesn't know that a restriction in their great toe, their ankle, their hips, their back might have contributed to their knee having that injury that they came in on. And if we just focus on healing that knee, we're sending that patient back out to possibly get re-injured again. And that's what next level is all about, is that education aspect into a full body assessment and a full body plan of care, so that patient is coming out. We have our move, excel, inspire phases of progression, where we really want that patient, as they come on in and leave, in that inspire phase, where the patient is now in a better position and of health and rehab to go out there where they're actually stronger than they were when they first came in. And so that they're bulletproofed, or at least geared for those rigors of whatever sport that they're training for, daily life, etc., so that that injury doesn't happen again, or any other injury that might come their way.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that does set us apart in the sense that the Move Excel Inspire, or the MEI model, as we call it, is essentially the Move part of the program, is where we're trying to just restore range of motion, restore movement, kind of get the body back to homeostasis, like decrease pain levels, so that we could move on to the next phase, which is the Excel phase. So the Excel phase is where we're trying to get stronger and solidify some of the changes we made during the move phase, right? During the move phase, we're also trying to reposition and like change levers and make sure that the patient is in the best possible position to move forward, right? So in the Excel phase, we're strengthening, we're stabilizing, a lot of like core strength, a lot of kind of specific strengthening programs for specific areas of the body. And then in the Inspire phase is really just we're working on pushing capacity and a concept of resiliency, right? We're trying to make them more bulletproof. We're trying to get them to be a lot more stable, to be able to tolerate more, to be able to be injured less, so that we could release them back into the wild, right? So the Inspire phase, we're trying to get them even healthier than they were before they got injured, right? To kind of reach the higher goals that they might have, right? Whether that's a triathlon or a marathon or a Spartan race or a PR and their max deadlift.
Yeah.
I think that's probably going to be all for today. But I would love you guys to like and subscribe. Subscribe to us on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, and we'll see you guys next time.